Type a banking site into your address bar with plain HTTP, and on plenty of sites your browser won't even try it. It jumps straight to HTTPS before a single packet leaves your machine. Today, why? It starts with an ordinary habit, typing an address without thinking about HTTP versus HTTPS, or clicking an old bookmarked link that still says plain HTTP. That plain request is the actual risk. Sent in the clear, it can be read, or worse, silently rewritten by anyone sharing the same network. Standing in the way is a small local list your browser keeps for exactly this: the HSTS Cache, short for HTTP Strict Transport Security. It learns which sites demand HTTPS only in two ways: a header the real server sent on an earlier visit, or a preload list baked into the browser itself. Every entry also carries an expiry called max age, a promise that lasts weeks or months, then quietly needs renewing. The payoff sits on the other side, a request that's forced to HTTPS before it ever touches the network, closing off a whole category of attack. A typed address, a local cache, a rewritten request. Let's follow one plain HTTP address and watch it never actually leave as plain HTTP. Take 1, you type bank.example into the address bar with plain HTTP, exactly like the earliest days of the web, and press enter. Sent as plain text, that request would be readable by any router, hotspot, or attacker sitting between you and the real server. No decryption required, just reading. But before the browser opens any connection, it consults its own local memory, a table of sites that have demanded HTTPS only, and for how long. Bank.example is on that list. Nothing about this check involves asking the network anything. It's a purely local decision made in microseconds. One way that entry got there: on an earlier visit, the real server replied over a genuine HTTPS connection carrying one specific header, strict transport security. The other way needs no prior visit at all. Major browsers ship with a preload list, thousands of domains submitted in advance, protected from their very first request. Either way, the entry isn't permanent. It carries a max age value, commonly a year, after which the promise expires unless the site renews it on the next visit. With the rule confirmed, the browser silently rewrites the request. Same domain, same path, but HTTPS in place of HTTP, done entirely before any network call. Now picture the coffee shop scenario. An attacker on the same open Wi-Fi tries the classic move, quietly intercepting the connection and answering as if it were plain HTTP. It has nothing to work with. The browser was never going to send plain HTTP to this domain in the first place. There is no downgrade moment to hijack. The only request that actually reaches the network is the encrypted one, HTTPS, from the very first packet, exactly as the cached rule demanded. Total time added by the whole check, unmeasurable. A local table lookup, a rewritten address, and the page loads exactly as fast as any other secure site. Compare that to a site with no HSTS entry at all. The first request genuinely does go out as plain HTTP, and only a redirect, which itself can be intercepted, pushes it to HTTPS afterward. That gap is exactly what preloading closes. A site can submit itself to the browser vendor's shared preload list, guaranteeing HTTPS-only protection even for a visitor who has never been there before. The header itself can also include subdomains, extending the same HTTPS-only rule to every subdomain automatically, closing a common oversight in large sites. There's a real trade-off in that max age number. Set it too short and protection lapses between renewals. Set it long and a genuine misconfiguration locks visitors out of the site for months. HSTS also can't help on the very first request to a site with no preload entry and no prior visit, which is precisely why the preload list exists, covering that one remaining gap. One cached rule, sourced from a header or a preload list, turns HTTPS from a polite suggestion into something your own browser refuses to violate, closing the downgrade attack before it can start. Thanks for watching. Next time your browser skips straight to HTTPS, you'll know a small local list just quietly did its job. Check out our other videos and follow how it all runs for more. See you in the next one.